This is Jimmy from The Productive Engineer, and today we're going to be talking about how to work with pages inside of Notion. So stay tuned. Before we get started, if you like this video, please click the like button as it really helps me out. If you want to see more videos from me, please click the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, please click the bell. Thanks. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do when you open up Notion, if this is your first time using it, or you just want to get familiar with how to create a page, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The first way is simply coming down to the lower left-hand corner of the Notion window, as you can see here, where it says this plus button with the new page text. Just click that, and that'll generate a new page. Easier, actually clicking on it helps. And this could be test page one. And as you can see, my page comes up, and I can enter and come over here, and now my test page is over here in the corner. So I have that there. Now I'm going to create another test page by using the command and N or Control and N if you're on Windows, and that'll generate a new page as well. And I can call this test page 2, hit OK, and over here in my sidebar you can now see I have test page 2 and test page 1. So I'm going to delete those because it's kind of silly to have them. And that's how you create a page. Now that we know how to create a page, sometimes you want to create a subpage. A subpage is essentially a page inside of a page. So much like you have folders on your computer and files inside of them, or sometimes folders inside of folders that are subfolders of the bigger folder, if I didn't confuse you already, Notion has the same concept. Because it's a wiki, you can actually have a directory where you have pages inside of pages, and that can go on and on and on. In this case, to make it simple, I have a page here that is called Personal Projects. It contains 3 subpages, a programming languages page, a command line page, and a books page. So for example, if I click on this programming languages page, you can see that it in turn has 4 subpages of its own. Uh, and if I click on one of these, like Ruby, it has a couple subpages of its own, and it can go on and on and on. So I'm going to actually hit go back. You can actually use the go back buttons, the left and right arrows, to go forward and go back inside the main pane of the window. Or you can use the keyboard shortcuts, which is command left bracket to go backwards, command forward bracket to go forwards. So I'll actually do that just to show it. And that'll take me one step back, and then I can go one step forward. So here I'm in my personal projects page again. I'm going to create a subpage. And the easiest way to do that is to type slash, which will bring up my contextual menu, and start typing page. And as you can see, as you start typing, page will come to the top. I click that, and now I am on my new subpage. I will call this subpage test because I'm creative with my titles. Hit enter. I'll hit that command and left bracket to go back, and now you can see I have a subpage. So if I want to drill back down into that, I can actually do command and right bracket to go forward, or I could have just clicked on the link and I could create yet another subpage. So I start typing page, click page, and now I can click yet another subpage. I will go back, and now you can see my subpage has a subpage. And if I go back again, my subpage test page is on my personal projects page. So you can create a hierarchy of pages within Notion. The one thing you want to be careful of, very easy to create a rat's nest, easy for me to say, uh, where you have pages inside of pages inside of pages inside of pages with no real rhyme or reason. Much like your computer can have folders inside of folders inside of folders inside of folders, um, and to the point where you don't have a structure. You really want to think out thoughtfully how you want to lay out Notion. typically you want to have several master categories and then subcategories off of those master categories and just work your way through. Um, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have things that link together, such as linked databases off of tables that are in another section of Notion. As a matter of fact, that's likely exactly how you're going to use Notion as you get to use it. But the important thing here is to ensure that you create a clean structure to begin with. It'll make searching Notion and using Notion a lot easier. We've talked about how to create pages and subpages. Now let's actually talk about what we can do inside of a page. So everything in Notion, when you add it to a page, is essentially a block. And the way you add a block is by typing the slash key. Once you type the slash key, you'll be given your blocks, and there's several categories. The basic blocks, which we're going to talk about in this video. There's also inline blocks, data, I believe there's database blocks, yes, database blocks, media, and then the embeds. And we're going to talk about a little bit about each of those, as well as the advanced blocks. So the basic blocks are adding a new page, which we did earlier, to-do lists, headings, and other types of lists like numbered and toggle lists. But the only block that you don't have to type in to add is text, because you can actually just start typing. So I can start typing. This is a test block. And the reason why it works is because the default block that's enabled when you open it or create a new page is the text block. Now, once I have my text here, I can do things like highlight it and I can format it. So when I highlight it, as you can see, the first thing you do is you have a transformation element here. As you can see, it becomes a turn into. Right now it's text. If I were to click on this drop down, I can turn it into a variety of things. So I can turn it into a heading just by clicking it, and now it's a text. The text block is now a heading block. I can highlight again and then convert it back, text block. Um, Obviously, the other thing I can do, if I highlight, is I can come over here, I can add a comment. So I can sit there and say, let's say this was, for example, um, this is the key concept we need to focus on. And I wanted to communicate that, I can actually add a comment here, highlight it, hit comment, and then it'll bring my um, icon up, and I can actually say, this is really important. Hit send, and now, as you can see, it's yellow underlined. And when I click on it, you'll actually see that this is open. So a lot of times, this is really good if you're like you have a bunch of text and you're proofreading it like collaboratively with other people. You can create comments, and then when they're resolved, you can just click resolved, and it goes away because it's now resolved. So it's a good way to sort of track changes that you make to a collaborative text. You can also do things like highlight it and bold it. You can italicize. You can actually use strike through text as well. You can mark it as code, which gives it a code designation. I'm actually going to turn some of these off here now. And you can make a link. So obviously, let's say I wanted this concept to point towards a web page. I can click link, type in my link, which is my blog in this case, theproductiveengineer.net. You should check it out if you haven't already. And you can click link. And now, when I click over it, you can notice that my icon changes into a pointer, which indicates that if I click it, it'll launch my web page. You can actually, I'm going to undo that because I don't want that there. I can come over here and I can change my text color and background, which is a little strange. So I can actually leave, so I can change this to like orange text. And you can see it's now orange. Or I can come over here, I can turn it back to default, but I can change my background just for that text to be, let's say, yellow. And now it's yellow. So it acts as like a highlighter, if you want to think of it that way. Now let's take a look at some of the other blocks. So typing slash, we already looked at page and text. Let's use to do. So to do, you can actually create a little checklist inside of Notion very quickly. So all you do, as you can see it in the list, but I'm going to type it in case it weren't in the list, start typing the name of the block. And you can do this for any of the blocks. And you can click it here you see to-do list, and you just click it, and there you go. And as you can see, it's very simple. You can start out with a little checkbox and a text box. So you start typing in the to-do, which is make Notion YouTube video. Remind everyone to subscribe to channel. If I can learn how to type. Uh, I don't even know what else to write. Eat dinner. Like, I'm really lacking creativity here. And then if you want to get out of it, you just hit enter twice, and that ends the this. And now this is one block, so you can actually move it around. And there it is. Now, when you complete a to do, all you do is click in the checkbox, and as you can see, it shows up as scratched out. If you want to undo that, you just click back in there again. You can actually finish all of them, and there it is. And they show. The nice thing about it is that they don't disappear; they stay just scratched out and checked. So that way you can see everything that you've completed as well as everything that's still remaining. So that is a to-do block. We'll just delete that. Of course now I want to delete. After I clean that up, the next block I can mess around with is headings. So think of these as your H1, H2, H3. So you start typing heading, it brings you to that section. If I want to make a main title, I can sit there and go, this is heading 1, and I can do this as heading 2 as an example. And you say, well, I didn't call out the block. Well, I don't have to do that because you remember we can use that transform, and I can come down here and say heading 2, and now it's a heading 2. And then if I want to go back and just use the block again, I can use heading. Scroll here, heading 3. This is heading 3. So pretty easy to create new headings. Bulleted lists. Sometimes you want to have a bulleted list. Sometimes you want to have a numbered list. So one of the things you can do to create bullet lists is just say, start typing bull. There's bulleted list, and it works very similarly to the to-do list, where you just basically have the text box with the little bullet icon next to it. And you can just type like bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. I'm really creative. And then when I want to get out of it, just hit enter twice. And now I'm out of it. And just like last time, I can delete them. I'm just going to select all 3 and delete this time to save time. I can also do a numbered list by simply clicking here, typing NUM, bringing up the numbered list, as you can see. It works exactly the same way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it'll go on and on as long as I make the list. The one thing I do want to share with you is you can actually tab and indent it. So I actually could have sub bullets here, and I can actually create another one here, and I can actually tab again, and now this one can have a sub of the sub of the sub. It works the same thing in the bulleted list as the numbered list. So I can say this is 1, this is 2. Oh, not so. This is Chinese on my mind today. I'm a little hungry. 3. Um, and as you can see, I can have sub bullets and sub numbered lists inside of my numbered list, sub bullets inside of my bulleted lists. I'll actually show you how that works in the bulleted list as well. It works exactly the same way. Bulleted list. I could have 1. I can hit tab to go in, but let's say I wanted to go back. Like, I really don't want to have a sub bullet here. I can hold that shift and hit tab, and it'll put me back. So it actually goes, tab steps you down one level. Shift tab takes you out a level. So 2, 3, and then I can go A, B, and I can tab in again. And now I'm 2 levels deep, right? So if I want to go back to the main level to just type 4, I can just hold that shift, hit tab once, takes me 1, hit it again, and then type 4, and you get the idea. So that's sort of how you navigate the hierarchy of a bulleted list or nested bulleted lists. So let's just delete those. Of course, I missed one. Sorry. Hit slash again. Is there anything else in this list here? You can actually put a quote in, which is kind of a weird thing, but let's say you want to put an inspirational quote in. Um, You want to put in here, I don't even know what to say. We are the music makers, and we are the dreamer of dreams from one of my favorite movies. Um, and now it shows up as a quote. The last one that we can do, you can actually add dividers. Dividers are really handy. This is one I use often. So I'm going to start typing div, and I'll bring it up to a divider here. So if you want to have subsections of your overall page, you really want to have a divider. Visually, it adds an element here. So actually, I'll click divider, and actually, you can see if you look real close here, there's a little line between here and here, right there. So that's my divider. So I can have like section one, come down here, do a div, learn how to type, then do a div, and then I can have section two as an example, do the same thing, and then section three. And you get the idea. So you can have multiple sections. If I wanted to add more stuff to the section, I can just come in here. So section one, as we talked about earlier, I might want to add a to-do, right? So I can hit to-do list right here. And that's like do Notion demo, hit enter twice. Now I'm out of it. Here I might have something different. I might have like a numbered list. And then I can say alpha, beta. You get the idea. So you can populate these. Each one of these, because you can fill in with multiple blocks. Each section here that you create. Remember, this is just another block element that you're adding to the page. The pages just scroll. If I keep adding content, it'll just keep adding and adding and adding. The page can be as long as I want it to be. So that's how divs work. And the next section, we're going to get into some of the inline blocks. Some of the blocks that are inside the inline segment section of the blocks menu are mentioning a person, you can mention a page, or you can insert a date or reminder inside some text. So there's a couple ways you can do this. To mention a person or a page, you can either select it from one of these, and then I'll say mention a person here, and it's going to show me because I'm on an individual plan. If there's other people or I was in a gigantic organization, I can start typing their name, and then it would filter down to that person. Like if I type myself, I'm the only person, so it's going to show up there. The other thing I can do, as you may have guessed by when you saw some of the text earlier, is just hit the at symbol, and that's actually a more flexible way of pulling up the inline blocks. So I can mention like today, and now I have a today reference inside of my subpage. So actually, when I do a search or a filter, I can actually filter on this. And just look for things that have this today label in it. And it's smart enough to know that I put this label in here for today. And so if I search for this during today, this will come up. But tomorrow when I search, because it's no longer today, it will not show up. It'll actually have yesterday's date. And I'll have to search for the actual date. So that's really kind of cool. And you can also mention a page. So a lot of times you'll want to reference other pages without embedding them as a subpage. So you might just say, and let's do my personal projects. We talked about that one earlier. Personal projects. I start typing it, and as you can see, it shows up here. I click on it, and rather than it being a subpage, it's just a reference to that page. It's essentially a link, right? So I can click on it, and it takes me right to that page. Of course, I can go back. It takes me back there. So now I have a reference to my personal projects page on this page. So there might be content or on that page that I want to reference but not copy onto this page. Also, my personal projects page might not be a subpage of this, but rather a shared resource with other pages. And I can create those other pages could also have references to the same personal projects page or any other page, which is when you start organizing. We kind of talked about this earlier in the video. We start organizing Notion. This is something to keep in mind. Is this page really a subpage of this master page, or is it an individual page that I want to reference on this subpage? Okay, so Next, we're going to talk about databases. Briefly, I actually have a video where I go through linked databases and how tables work and boards, calendars, which actually you can click here on the little link to access. So the way you do it is you type slash and then I will type table as an example, and it brings up the database category. And here's a couple of different options. Pretty much most of these are either full page options or inline. Inline means that it's going to drop whatever block you put here on this page. So if this table inline here that you see, if I were to click that, it would put a table on this page. But if I come down here where it says table full page as an example, if I click that one, it's actually going to create a sub page here. And actually, I'll do both. So table inline, I'll click that, and you can see I have a little table here. So this is inline table, right? And I have my little table here. So I can put a name, have tags, I can attach a file, I can add other categories here by just hitting the plus button and hitting the property type here, and then just scrolling and adding what I want. There's a variety of options here. Again, if you want more information, check out my linked databases video. It goes through it in extensive detail. If I want to add um, a full page table, again, type table, and I can come down here and see full page. If I click that one, I'm now taken to a new page. I'll call this a full page table, and then I will click back, and now you can see I have a sub page that's a table. So if I click on it, this whole page, this table is literally the whole page. Um, Typically, I use inline tables because normally what I'm doing is I'm creating either a view of a table or I want the table to be part of other content, part of a broader page. So the only time you really use a full page table is if this is going to be like a master database. Then you make a I would use the full page table. Just create. It's the same exact technology underlying here. So a full page table and a inline table functionally are the same. It's just that one takes up a whole page, one is part of a larger page. So I'm gonna hit back. If I come down here, I can actually hit board. I can add a board. Um, a board is essentially like a pin board, a virtual pin board. They're called Kanban boards. And a Kanban board, I have another video, if you check my channel, on how to do Kanban boards on Notion. But again, much like last time, you can have an inline board, which I'm going to do here. And basically, these you have cards and you have categories. Think of these as statuses, right? In this context, so you might have a bunch of projects that haven't started, so you can have maybe a card in there. And each card, think of it as a project or a task, depending on how you organize your table. And when you move from category to category, you can either slide and drag it, or you can just click on it and then change the status by clicking on status. You can add more properties just because essentially a card is nothing more than a page. So you can add properties. I can actually come down to here and I can add a table. I can actually have a table inside a card or a calendar, right? So I can type calendar and I can actually add a calendar um, as well. So I can actually click calendar and now I have a calendar inside this card. Um, the idea of this is not to give you a detailed view of how to use boards. Again, if you want that, I'll leave a link in the description for my video on how to do Kanban boards in Notion. But it's a very powerful way to project manage the various projects that you have going on and keep them organized. Another thing you can do here, I think I just talked about it earlier, you can actually add a calendar. So you can have an inline calendar or a full page calendar. Let's do a full page this time. Click full page, and obviously this was a full page calendar. I'll just give that the name. You can actually create entries by double clicking, and now again everything's essentially a page, and this could be a test um, appointment. I can actually give it tags. I can create my own tags. I can add more properties. I can add comments. I can put content in here. I can create like a little to-do list that might be things I want to do in my appointment, like take meeting notes, set up follow-up call, et cetera, and have them in there so I can actually pull it up, check them off, etc. When I click off of it, you can actually see my uh, appointment here. I can actually move it by just clicking, holding, and dragging it to another day if I want it to be on a different day. Obviously, I can move it back if I don't. Um, so that's really how it works. And if I hit back one, actually, let me go back a couple here. You can see that now as much like my full page table, my full page calendar is a subpage of that page, and then I can actually do another calendar here, and this could be an inline calendar just to give you an idea of what that looks like that. And as you see, I scroll down. Now I have this inline calendar. We can call this inline, right? And now I have this inline calendar. Notice that it doesn't have the same appointments because it's a different calendar than this one. So if I click that one, then you see it. But if I click go back, you see this one. It isn't in there because there's actually two different tables of data, two different databases. If you wanted to have multiple calendars based on the same data, what you would do is set up a table with a date column in it, and then create linked databases off of that, and then use the calendar view. Um, if any of this sounds really hard or complex, it's really not. And if you follow my video on how to use linked databases, I walk you through step by step how to do this. The last thing I want to show you is how to do embeds. I actually created a page here where we're going to do our embeds. And basically what an embed does is allows you to take web content from other places and services and actually embed or insert them into your Notion page. So the way you bring up the embed menu is typing the slash, start spelling out embed, and then you have all the embeds. So as you see quite a few services here. Um, the more you can embed certain types of files, like PDFs, you can also embed things like Google Maps, and I have a video on how to do that. Um, you could also do, so if I click embed here, as an example, I have a choice of taking something from the web or just uploading a file. I'm actually going to undo. And sometimes you'll lose the menu here unless you type the slash again. So just do that. And then here you can embed a tweet. I don't know why you would do that, but okay. You can embed Drive documents, so like Google Sheets, and I have another video on that on my channel as well. Google Docs, etc. If you work at GitHub, you can take your gist and embed that in there. We talked about the Google Map earlier, Figma files, some of the other ones here, embed a PDF, Loom, embedding a Loom video. I have an article on that on my website. Codepen, I have a video on that as well on my channel. So the thing I'm going to embed here, let's see, which thing should we embed? You know what? I don't actually see it here, but you know what? I'm going to embed a YouTube video. So I'm going to click that here. And one of the things you see is embed link or upload. I'm going to use the embed link. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my go to YouTube here. And as you can see, I have a video right here of mine, the Kanban boards and Notion step-by-step guide. I'm going to right click, going to copy that link address. I'm going to go back into Notion. I'm going to paste my link. I'm going to hit embed link. It's going to take a second to think about it, and then there's my video. And I can play it while I'm in here as an example. Um, and there I am. So embedding things is really easy. Again, to come down here, just type slash embed, and then you can embed a ton of content. Even though YouTube wasn't here, I just used the generic embed capability and pasted the link in, and it brought it up. You can, like I said, if you have a Google Map, that's great for like if you have a meeting and you want to embed the directions to that meeting, you can actually embed a Google Map here, for example. I'm actually going to go over here, go maps.google.com. I'll type in Empire State Building, New York City, as an example. It'll bring me to that page. What I can do is just click here in the address bar, select all, copy, go back, bring up my video on my Notion screen here. Click on that, type it, just paste in my link, hit embed map. It's going to think about it for a second. It's going to draw my map. And as you can see, um, I can actually go out here a little bit. And there's the Empire State Building right there. So I actually have a map of the area around it. And actually can go deeper, deeper, pull it over, deeper, and start seeing some of the things that are around me. So if I was visiting New York for the first time, I was going to see the Empire State Building. I want to see where Chipotle was because I'm kind of a Chipotle addict. I can come over here and see that there's a Chipotle right on the same street, right next to Empire State Building. So pretty cool. You can do this with a ton of functionality. I have several videos on how to embed various pieces of content into Notion on my channel, so you should check that out. Well, thanks for watching this video. Again, if you like this video, please click that like button. If you want to see more of my videos, please click subscribe. And I want to hear from you. So please leave your comments. I read my comments and I respond to them. If you have questions about how to use Notion or other apps or just anything in general that, any feedback you want to provide, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll get back to you. Thanks again for tuning in.